Jared Dines, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for making time for this. I appreciate it. I got to start off with a spicy question. I have a lot of real questions, but I got to start off with a spicy question so people will keep watching.
Okay.
Can you, as a guitarist, can you help me understand the appeal of Megadeth? Because I am baffled by the amount of people that still love this band in 2023. I feel like they're all guitarists, and I feel like you might have the answer.
So you don't like Megadeth. You're not a Megadeth fan.
I mean, they're fine, but I feel like Megadeth fans are either like 14 or 50.
Okay, that's
you know what I mean. There's always that scruffy kid, you know, who is 16 years old, walking around a bus stop in Puyallup
with a battle vest
and a Megadeth shirt right now. Exactly, and that kid has existed since I was in like 6th grade, and will always exist. And of all the things you could be doing with your life, listening to Megadeth seems like a strange choice to me. But listen, what do I know?
Of all the bands out there, you choose Megadeth. Well, as a guitar player, I think Megadeth's guitar work is really good. Like, I would say, like, there's always that argument of like, well, Megadeth or Metallica, which one? You know, and they're so closely intertwined. I always say that I think Metallica has like better hits, but I think Megadeth has better riffs. So, you know, it's very guitar oriented, very technical guitar stuff. It's fun to play, and it's interesting, which I think is what people like out of Megadeth more so, say, than a band like Metallica, where Metallica might just play kind of like
kind of straightforward.
Yeah, Megadeth is doing like you know, it's like really
hello me.
Yeah, and then you add the voice on top of it. I always thought that if it was Megadeth's music and James Hetfield singing, I would have liked Megadeth a lot more. I do like Megadeth as a guitar player, but I can see where you're coming from, because Dave's voice is definitely something that's a little weird to get used to. It's very iconic. Like, you can definitely tell.
Holy Wars is a 10 out of 10 song. I love that song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's really what it is. It's just the musicianship is kind of on a next level for like mainstream, like legacy metal bands, I guess.
Sure.
And then you have Metallica, who has great songs, great hits, but they kind of recycle a lot of their solos. They recycle like a lot of their chuggy riffs or whatever.
See, I never liked Metallica either.
Okay.
I only like Slayer and Anthrax.
I heard Metallica. That's funny, because I actually never listened to much Anthrax at all. And Slayer, I've only ever heard maybe like an album or two. But they're cool. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's probably what it is.
The
riffs. Yeah, the riffs are cool. Okay. You know, I remember listening to Metallica the first time I ever heard them. It was, I think it was Enter Sandman, like years ago, and I just was like, this is super cool. It was a certain sound to the production of the Black Album that I don't know.
It still sounds amazing. I don't even like Metallica.
Yeah,
but that mix is fucking untouchable.
I don't know what they did, but there's something about that mix. It sounds like it's untouchable. That's a great way to say it. I don't know. It was just like next level for some reason, especially back then. Like, I
mean, it still sounds incredible. You can put that on now, turn it up loud on a nice stereo, and like, damn, this still sounds amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, to answer your question, I think it's mainly the riffs, the technicality, the intricacy of the playing, you know, like Kiko, he's an amazing player, and everyone they've had.
Marty Friedman, amazing.
So it's like, it's very impressive. And I think that for musicians is a huge point that everyone enjoys. But yeah, I wouldn't say I'm like a huge Megadeth enjoyer, listener. Like, I used to listen to him a lot. I listened to the newest record that came out, which was fine. I liked it, but definitely not a band that I'm like spinning all day. You know what I mean?
And really quickly, I also wanted to mention my Patreon. If you like what I do on YouTube and everywhere else, joining my Patreon really helps me do this full time and worry less about videos getting demonetized by YouTube or copyright claimed by labels. Patrons get all my podcasts and main channel videos early. There are members only channels in my Discord that I'm super active in. I also do giveaways. For example, I've been giving away a lot of Emo's Not Dead merch. And you can also have me review your music, artwork, or anything else. All you need to do is join my Patreon at the $10 level, and then every month I do a call for submissions. If you want me to review something, just drop it in the comments of that post, and then I will review it live on Twitch. So if any of that sounds cool to you, hit the link in the description of this video, and I appreciate your support.
I'm sure
all the other guys that were in the band don't seem to care too much about
it. Yeah.
Ron McGovney, he doesn't seem to be too upset about it.
Yeah.
Now, another band that I want to know your opinion on this. So I know you like Van Halen. I am a Van Hagar enjoyer. What is your opinion on that?
Two completely different things.
Yes.
And I think they're Van Halen was very fun party, not talking about love. And Van Hagar is talking about love. You know what I mean?
That's a good way to put it.
So it's like, it's a different vibe for sure. Like you have songs with them like Right Now or Pound Cake, I guess, is a little bit more fun and provocative, but Dreams and a lot of the stuff that they did was very melodic, very pretty and kind of ballady with Sammy. And then the stuff they did with David was just pedal to the floor, 100 miles an hour, crazy shenanigans.
Diamond Dave show.
Yeah, man. I remember listening.
Summer Nights is my favorite Van Halen song because it makes me feel like I'm like a chill retired boomer wearing like Tommy Bahama, kicking back on the deck with like a Corona, just like being stoked. On life, wearing, my flip-flops and like I can sleep in till 10 a.m. tomorrow and nobody's going to bother me.
Yeah, Sammy really gives that chill, relaxed vibe. And I mean, you can get some of that with David too, but it's more like you're also drinking at the same time and like hanging out with your boys.
Doing taekwondo with a samurai sword.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I was introduced to them probably when I was like 12. And heard a few of their songs, Eruption, obviously, Ice Cream Man, You Really Got Me. And I was just like, okay, this is like aggressive. I like this. It was cool. And then later on, I got more into, hard rock, like Breaking Benjamin, and then bands like Killswitch, Metalcore, and As I Lay Dying. So like my sound is almost kind of like this combination of like shreddiness, but then also just kind of like metal riffs. So it's all thanks to Van Halen though.
I mean, does kind of all go back to Van Halen, right?
Yeah, definitely a game changer for guitar players, 100%. I mean, his techniques, the tapping thing. I mean, not saying he invented it, but
definitely popularized it.
Yeah, 100%. So that just the tone that he had in his guitar, the way that he literally Frankenstein, right? Like his Frankenstein guitar built this thing that was just no one was doing at the time, really. So kind of changed the game a little bit.
His tone is so interesting because like it just sounds like complete ass. If anybody else were to play anything other than his songs with his hands, it would be just putrid.
Yeah,
kind of like Dimebag Darrell. Like if I was to pick that up and play it, it would sound like just absolute dog shit.
Yeah,
but when he plays it, it sounds unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't know. It's in the fingers. It's crazy because like it is a very bright kind of ear piercing tone, the Van Halen tone. So if you don't know how to, work it just right, tame it a little bit, it's tough.
And that like weird, I guess it's chorus. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, a flanger, I think was his big thing.
Okay.
Yeah, flanger pedal. But yeah, it's cool stuff. He's like a mad scientist for guitar players. So definitely very, very respected guy in the guitar community, who also died on my birthday, which is it's crazy. Yeah.
God, come on, Eddie. You could have had the decency to just wait like a day or two. Come on.
It was
way to rain on Jared's parade.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's all about me, Eddie. No, yeah, that rest in peace. But no, yeah, great legacy musician for for guitar players for sure.
Well, speaking of Jared, you haven't been uploading a ton for the past year or so. Are you just kind of like burned out or focusing on your original music, or what's going on?
I think a lot of that was lockdown. I think that's kind of when I stopped uploading on a regular basis was lockdowns. Like I think I just kind of got depressed, and I wasn't, because I used to live in a house that had my whole team there. You know, I had my camera guy, the editor. I had an assistant, my buddy Austin, who I make film videos with all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and so we were always just there working together and doing all that stuff. So then we moved out of that house like right when lockdown started, and I moved into a house by myself, and it was just a completely different dynamic. It wasn't the same vibe. It wasn't as, I don't know, fun for me anymore. And then obviously like everything going on with the world at the time, I kind of got to a point where I was like, what's the point of even kind of doing this right now? Because everything is crazy in the world, you know? Um, so I think I got a little depressed for sure. And then kind of fell into a lot of, you know, drinking and just not doing what I should be doing. And that went on for probably about a year and a half. And then I went and saw a therapist for like 6 months, which helped a little bit. Stopped drinking and just started to picture what the future looks like as far as, you know, doing music and doing content. What do I need to do to get to a point again where we can have a well-oiled machine, you know? So that's what I've been doing. And I have a team now. I have a few people that I'm working with. Actually, I think it's your short editor is the same person doing my shorts. Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She's great.
Love her.
Yeah, she's great. I saw you made a post on Instagram because I've been looking, and then I saw your post and I was like, oh, well, for sure. So working with her, have a camera guy. Me and my buddy Austin are still doing a bunch of content, and we're ramping up kind of on the second channel, doing a lot of stuff, which is the DINES show. It's a channel that we've had for, you know,
you've been pretty consistent with that, right?
More so. Yeah. Cause those videos are more kind of table talk. We sit there and just chat and react to stuff or give our opinions on music. It's way more podcasty, which we actually did just start a podcast, which we should have you on, by the way. We're on episode 3. We just did one with Stevie T, which was funny. Goofy boy. Anyways, so yeah, I went through all that, and then now finally getting back to a place where I have all these ideas for videos. I just didn't have I guess a little bit motivation, yeah, but more so I would say the discipline to kind of, you know, get them done. Whereas now I am much more in that mental health state to do that and go and get back into it. So like we just did the mansion thing. That was like a 6-month project of planning. Missed you there, by the way, but I totally understand.
I wish I could have gone to that. I really wanted to, but I was just like with the baby, I just realized it's just not.
Oh, for realistic. Sure. I totally get it. It was a lot of fun though. I love doing content where it's very collaborative. I've always, even before YouTube, that's the kind of stuff that I used to do when I had a recording studio. Just having a bunch of bands in, or I would write a song and I would have every vocalist who wanted to from the local metal scene come over on like a Saturday, and then we'd record 30 vocalists on one song and we would release it. So I've always enjoyed the collaborative stuff. So we did that. And then I'm just trying to like see how the next 3 to 5 years looks, what I want it to look like as far as content, and what's reasonable and realistic and something that I won't get burnt out doing. I don't.
Because a lot of people are like, oh, Jared's quitting YouTube, he's burned out, but that's not the case.
No, I mean, I do tend to get burnt out if I'm the only one doing everything. If I have to come up with the idea and then record every instrument for whatever I'm doing, and then set up the camera, set up lights, film it, make sure that looks good, and then drop in the computer, edit it, promote it on socials, and then release it. It's like, man, I'm doing like the job of like 5 or 6
literally
people.
5 people. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I guess is fine if you're doing content that's more simple, where, you know, either you're kind of playing video games or you're just sitting there talking. I don't typically do that. So a lot of my videos take 2, 3, 4 days to even get done if I'm doing them myself. That's when I start getting burnt out. If I have a good team around me, I don't think I really get burnt out because I genuinely enjoy the content that I make, the videos that I do. I do genuinely like, I don't make a video. I mean, I guess I probably have in the past made a few videos that were just like, I got to get a video out. I don't know what to do,
Yeah.
like whatever. But of course, people always tell that it's a throwaway video, right? You know, like, this video sucks. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I genuinely
So
do enjoy it.
where would you like to see yourself in, I don't know, call it 2 or 3 years? Like, what if everything goes according to plan? What do you want it to look like?
So I have a tentative plan. Essentially, I want to have either a location or build a shop on like a property, where it's just everything that I do is in this one location, and we'll have separate rooms for everything. I'll have all my recording stuff, all my gear, and then we can have a room that's just a blank room to turn into any kind of set we want. You know, we can make it look like, you know, bring in a bunch of sand and palm trees, make it look like Hawaii. I don't know, just something to have a room for that, and then have like maybe one more room for the second channel stuff, the Dickie Dine show stuff, and then just have a team that goes there 2 or 3 days a week, and just 8 to 10 hours. We just do content. We make sure everything's, you know, good with patrons and promotion, and if we're doing songs or videos or skits, planning that all out and just doing that, because I think that's really sustainable as long as we can
Hmm.
put out content people want to watch, of course. But that's kind of what I see. And so I'm in the process now of getting to a point where we can have enough funding to do something like that. And
Yeah, that sounds expensive.
yeah, for sure. But I mean, if it's gonna, you know, if we want to continue, like, because the thing is like, I don't know what else I would do, because ever since I
Right.
was 12 years old, I've just played guitar, played drums, recorded in a studio, and made videos. And it's like, I don't have any like life training. It's like, am I going to go to, you know, college at 35? I guess I could, but, you know, so it's like, if I want to keep doing this, which, like I said, I do genuinely love doing it.
I mean, you're one of the best people in the world at this. Why would you stop?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great thank you. That's a great praise, but
I
I
mean,
feel,
you are. I mean, it's just a fact, you know.
yeah, I think my biggest problem has just been being consistent with a lot of it, because it is a thing where, of course, you know, it pays the bills and everything, but when I want to have fun, and you know, when I do it, of course, everyone wants to have fun with the jobs that they do, but
But you have to have fun because
yeah,
like
if I
if
don't,
you're
people
not
can tell.
exactly.
Yeah,
It's different,
100%.
we've all had jobs that weren't that fun, but if you're whatever driving a forklift, it doesn't matter if you enjoy it or not. You just got to get the job done. But with the
Right.
stuff you do in particular, because it's, funny and entertaining and stuff, if you're like bummed out, it's not going to be funny.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a different world. It's not so hard physically, but it can be definitely mentally very draining if you're doing things that you don't want to do. So that's always been kind of like a big priority for me, is to make sure that it is something that I want to do. So when the content comes out, the fans and the people that follow me are getting the best that I can do, and not just some
Yeah.
half-assed garbage. You know what I mean?
You've also
So
been doing this so long that I feel like you were pretty early to this. I guess we'll call it like, I don't know what you would call it, like guitar entertainment kind of content as opposed to just like instructional sort of stuff. I think you were pretty early to that, which I feel like, it's pretty saturated now. There's a lot of people that have done that sort of thing. And so the bar is higher. You can't just do the same stuff that you were doing 7 or 8 years ago. You've got to keep getting better. So what you're
right.
talking about is like, the Mr. Beast of like guitars, what it sounds like to me, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. I always fight myself with coming up with ideas, making sure that they're not overplayed. when I first started, it was like 2013, 2014. There was maybe like three or four of us doing comedic metal video. I mean, Stevie T had a few videos, but he wasn't posting consistently.
Right.
Um, you had like Jared Alonge. He was doing some comedy metalcore stuff, but there really wasn't that many people. And then yeah, for until probably 2017, 2018, I think is when people really started jumping on board. Maybe even a little bit earlier than that. But yeah, I mean, it's like, if people can see, oh, like he's making a living doing this, I could probably do it too.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Um, you know, but yeah, it obviously oversaturates the market. So it's like you see a person doing, oh, like 10 ways guitar players do this thing, and it's like,
Right.
that's been done 10,000 times. But so that's why I wanted to do more stuff like the mansion thing, where it was like, I don't think I've seen this happen in the YouTube music world, really. Even if it bombs, no one watches it, people hate it, like at least we tried. And that's kind of where I'm at, is like, let's just try. Let's just try a bunch of whatever. Because like I have a bunch of ideas that I've had in my phone. It was funny. I was talking to Steve about this on our podcast, and he says that his hardest thing is coming up with the ideas. He has no problem doing all the work, which is funny because I was like, well, I can sit and come up with 1,000 ideas. I fucking hate sitting there and making it happen. Like, maybe we should team up, and like I'll feed you ideas. You could be like a content farm or something. But yeah, I don't know. It's been a fun ride. It's been a lot of fun.
I mean, 10 years is such a fucking long time to do anything, but especially like YouTube. I feel like if you're even like relevant for 5 years, that's a long time. 10 years is like hardly anybody does that.
Yeah. And I feel very blessed, very lucky to be where I'm at, in order to just say that. I definitely never did it by myself. I had tons of help along the way with my friends and assistants and managers and, companies that will, here, take a guitar and, use it for your stuff, and like sponsors and everything. I mean, it's definitely not a one-man operation. Like the ideas maybe were mostly me. But as far as the physically making that happen, it's very, very difficult, especially in the world of like musical entertainment.
Yeah.
To do it just by yourself.
I mean, even just like, because like the audio has to be at least decent. It doesn't have to be the world's best mix, but it has to be good enough that it doesn't sound bad. Yeah. And even just that is like a ton of work.
Dude, I hate going back to my old videos, because I rarely do this, but I'll play like an old one, like, oh, 9 years ago, I remember this. Click on it. The song starts. I'm like, oh my God, what is
how did I think mix? That sounded good?
Yeah, right. I mean, I guess that's a good thing if you're, progressing constantly at a point where your mixers are getting better and better.
What if you're like, dude, my mixes were so much better back then?
Yeah, what have I done? Oh, I need to go back to Positive Grid or something. Yeah, right. I don't know. No, yeah, it's fun.
The tricky thing for me is like, it's more of just like, I feel like I'm always guessing what the audience wants. Like, I feel like I can come up with ideas, I can get them produced because my content is pretty simple and I have editors and all that stuff. But for me, it's always just like a crapshoot of, is it going to get views? That's the part that I don't think anybody. There's a few things that you can reliably be pretty sure it's going to get views. But other than that, it's sort of like a roll of the dice, and like, you really never know, at least in my experience.
See, I never thought of it like that. I always was just like, do I want to do this? Yes, then I'm doing it. That's always been my thought process of content. It was really never like, there were definitely videos that I had ideas for. I knew we're going to do well. 100%. Yeah. Like the, hey, give me your best metal scream video, where I go up to people in the street, I ask them to scream. I'm like, oh, this is going to do great. And I'm going to title it something like Metal Screaming Takes No Talent. And people are going to be like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. And so like, I know it's going to get views, and, people love that video, but I never thought like, this is going to get views, therefore I'm going to do it. It was always, I want to do this, let's hope it gets views, or just like, oh, this probably will do. Because there's been some videos I've done that I'm like, no one's going to watch this. This is so goofy and stupid and silly. And they end up doing super well. And then there's some where, you know, I say no one's going to watch this and they don't. But it was still, right. I've always had this like take on it where if I'm having fun, especially if I'm having fun with friends during the day filming this, even if it's a wash, I still had fun and I still had a good day with my friends making content, doing stuff that we genuinely had a blast doing. And if other people don't like it, well, maybe we'll get them in the next one. But yeah, so that's always been like how I've thought of it, you know, which I can totally see like the analytical perspective, because I feel like most people I talk to, whether it's Steve or Rob Scallon or just, you know, people who've been doing this for years and years, they always do have a very analytical brain when they're thinking of their content, which totally makes sense, because if that's your living, you want to make as much out of the effort that you put in, of course. I don't know. I just never thought of it that way. It was always just,
well, I know for sure that makes me less creative, and like there's a lot of ideas that probably people would like. Yeah. But in my head, I'm telling myself, well, nobody would watch that, so I'm not going to do it. Yeah. But I'm sure some of those probably would do well. And I definitely feel like I hold myself back by thinking that way, but I don't know any other way to think, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I guess if it's something where, you know, if you're going to have fun with it, like, I don't know. I guess that's just always how I've looked at it. Is just I'd rather, like, even the mansion thing when we were planning like the challenges for everybody to do and how the days were going to flow and everything. I was like, I want it to feel like even if the cameras aren't here, they just have an amazing week and have a great time. Like we'll capture it. Obviously, that's what we're here for. But let's set it up in a way that it's just an amazing week for everyone who was there. And then we also have a show out of it. You know what I mean? Because that to me means just a lot more. Like the experience of doing something is kind of more meaningful, I guess. I mean, the destination's good too, but just the experience.
The real friends were the videos we made along the way.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Or right. You know, like let's just hang out and have a good time.
Well, you mentioned collaboration a bunch of times, and you've gotten the chance to work with some pretty amazing people like Matt Heafy and Herman Lee and Howard Jones and Breaking Benjamin and Brooks Wackerman and probably a bunch of others that I'm not even thinking of. What are some of the coolest moments you've had like that?
The coolest? Oh, man. Meeting Trivium was very cool. That whole experience, going to, I think they were in Seattle for a show. And so we had been talking on Twitter. Someone had tweeted at Matt and said, you should do a Shred Wars with this guy. And then Matt was like, yeah, I'm down. And then I was like, wait, what? Like, okay, let's do it. So we started talking, and then I go there and hang out with them. And that's when he gives me a guitar and we have a bro hang, and I play a little, I think it was like 2 songs at sound check just for fun. And they're great. And so meeting them was really cool. And then going on that tour where I filled in for him was like a next level kind of cool, because it's like, oh shit, like this is like reality. Like Matt has
that's going to be pretty intimidating, right?
Oh, dude, the first like 2 shows, I didn't move. I just stood there, stared at my guitar neck. I'm like, I'm not missing a single note.
I mean, that stuff's not easy to play either.
No. And
plus
for
the
me,
fact that you're in front of a bunch of people. Oh yeah. And you're a YouTuber and all, you know, it's just,
it was crazy. It was like a trial period, a little bit of like, okay, can I actually step up to this next level of you know, performance, musicianship or whatever. That was really cool and super fun, very nervous, but you know, got through it. And that's when I met Howard, which was also another really cool moment for me. Cause I mean, he's been like one of my favorite vocalists since I was 15, you know, and we're just like, he's a perfect example of, you know, when they say don't meet your idols, he's the opposite of that. He's like, meet him if he's your idol, because he's the sweetest, nicest, kindest, funniest, silliest, like chillest dude I've ever met.
I thought you were about to throw him under the bus. I was like, wow.
No, yeah. Howard sucks, dude.
Like, fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy. No, he's great, man. He's awesome. And So we just started talking, and then he wanted to do some music. So I said, sure. That was really cool. Playing with Breaking Benjamin was really cool. That was the biggest crowd I've ever played in front of. So that was like a first type of experience, which is why I remember it so well.
And that was like in an arena, right?
Yeah, it was 15. It was two shows. The first show I think was 15,000, and the second show was 13,000
Dude, that's
people.
terrifying.
It was weird, man, because like it really wasn't for me. There was so much people that when I stepped on stage, I just found like one person in the crowd who was having fun, and I was like, that's the entire crowd. Like I just focused on one dude that was just like, yeah. And I was like, okay, you're my guy. You're my like center point. Everyone's having fun, and everything else disappeared. It was like completely disassociated from the reality of being in front of that many people. Where like I've been way more nervous in front of 20 people at a local show that are just kind of standing there like right in front of you. It's like, oh God, like you're so close to me. But that was, yeah, it was definitely nerve wracking. But once I got on stage, I was like, oh yeah, like this is so sick. This is amazing. Um, certain
the
moments.
people you've sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say certain moments on stage, I would like kind of come out of the trance and like actually look at the crowd and be like, oh wow, like take it in, appreciate it for what it is, because I might never be here again in my life in front of this many people, you know. But then it was just back into playing, and then I'm just locked on with this one guy, just like, yeah, you know, and everything else kind of disappeared. But yeah, that was a lot of fun.
I think it takes a lot of balls on your part to, I mean, even if it's just something like Shred Wars, you know, but to even play guitar in the presence of someone like Herman Lee, that takes some balls.
Yeah. Yeah. I try not to think about it. I know like there's so many people out there who are way better than me at pretty much everything, but it's like, I'm just here to hang out and have fun and just kind of embrace where I'm at in life. So it's like, I'll do a shred battle with Herman. I'm not going into it thinking like, I need to practice for 2 weeks. I need to be like so good. It's like, no, like just, you know, I'll meet him where he's at and he'll meet me where I'm at. And we're just a couple of dudes hanging out and having fun. It's never been like I don't know. I just never thought about it that way as kind of like a scary thing, or, you know, oh, I'm going to mess up in front of someone who's so good he's going to judge me, because I don't think he is.
It's not so much that he would, like, for me, the part that's scary is not that he would judge me, it's everybody else judging me. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because I mean, those guys don't give a fuck, you know, that's just not how they are.
Yeah.
But it's just like, yeah, I mean, you know, naturally they're going to compare you, you know, but the fact that, you know, you play with these people and you can hang with them, and like that says a lot about your ability as a musician, which I think there's kind of a lot of kind of negativity about YouTubers, that they're like, you know, guitar YouTubers, you know, aren't real musicians or something like that, or that like, well, you know, YouTubers don't deserve all the attention they get or something like that.
Because they're bedroom musicians.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but I think all the stuff that you've done really shows that just isn't true.
Well, the thing is that like, I am just the one who's done it, but all these other YouTube guitar players, musicians could do that. Like a lot of them are way better than me. It's just, you know, they might say no where I say yes. So it's like, the best person isn't even doing the job. It's just the person who's saying yes to do the job that's asked. So, and I always tell that to like other people too, if they, you know, because I talk to a lot of YouTubers that are, you know, around the 50K followers, 100K followers. They always ask for advice, and I'm just like, dude, just like do your thing and say yes. Like if you really want to see how far you can go in this, 99% of it is just saying yes. You know, the more you say yes to do stuff, and then of course, obviously, you want to be prepared for what, like going on with Trivium or whatever. It's like, yeah, you have to learn 17 songs. You have to be able to play them,
Yeah.
but say yes. And then just like,
Although it'd be kind of funny if you showed up and didn't. If the video was like, I filled in for Trivium parentheses and I didn't know any of the songs.
That sounds like a K-Mac video. That's like something
Right.
that he would do. No, yeah. Oh, dude, it was terrifying. But yeah, it's just like, if this is going to be what I'm going to do for my life, for my career, for, until I'm old, it's like, you got to do it. You got to play, you got to practice, you got to say yes,
Yeah.
you got to do stuff you may not want to do. A lot of the people that came to the mansion thing, it was their first time ever leaving their city, their town. They've never flown before. They've lived there the whole life, or like they've, just lived at home for the last 4 years and barely go outside. And a lot of people I had to like, hey, like they were super anxious about coming. And so I had to say, it's going to be totally fine. There's going to be a bunch of people here. We got a whole crew. Everything's taken care of. Like, you're going to have a great time. But there was a lot of people that were that almost
just
said
watch
no.
out for alligators. There's a lot of alligators around here, so be careful if you go outside.
Yeah, Washington's known for their alligators. So they showed up and they finally were like, okay, fine, I'll do it. After a little convincing, and they had the best week of their lives. Like,
it seems like it was a blast.
We have a group chat of everybody who was there, and like 3-4 weeks after, people were still saying that how much fun they had, and man, I wish it was 2 weeks. And like that was the coolest. Like a couple people said it was like the coolest experience of their entire life, because they had never left their home, they had never like done anything like that. And then once they did, they were like, oh my god, this is amazing. It's like, yeah, just like say yes more often. And if you can get through the uncomfortable anxiety of flying or being around a bunch of other people, it's like no one cares how you're feeling more than you do. Like no one's looking at you in that microscope of,
I wonder what he's thinking right now.
Like, exactly, yeah, which
does not cross their mind.
Right, yeah. And we're so like in tuned to that. Oh, I hope I look okay, I hope I smell okay, I hope I'm playing okay. It's like, just chill out, just have fun.
I do smell people though. Like I'll make a point, just like if they're looking at their phone, I'll just kind of sneak up behind them and give them.
Careful, you might get caught on camera doing that. You'll be outed as like a creep or something.
Hey, look, if that's called being a creep, then I guess I'm a creep. Sorry, I like to smell people, okay?
Well, hopefully they smell good, unless they're all Megadeth fans.
I have a notebook where I'll just make some notes. Like, okay, today Jared was musky with hints of coffee and a long tail of mint julep.
It's like a wine tasting. It's like
exactly.
Oak, lovely oak smells.
Exactly, strong legs.
It's your little black book. That's hilarious.
I don't know what legs are, by the way, with wine, but
I think it's when you swirl it, and it's if the wine sticks to the glass and slowly kind of drips down. I think I might get yelled at by all the wine. Is that
good or bad?
I think you want that. Again, I'm not a wine guy. I am not the person to talk about wine. I think that's what it is. But
I feel like you could talk about wine the same way you talk about mixes.
Yeah.
You're like, it's it's a little bit boxy, but I do like the airy kind of feel. Just, maybe there's some parts in the bottom end that are a little bit plugged up.
Yeah.
But it's really bright.
The top end's a little abrasive. It's a little strong. Yeah.
Right. So I feel like you could just copy and paste mix notes with wine, and people would probably be like, I really appreciate your fresh perspective on wine. It's
like you leave like a review for a wine. It just says, this snare sucks.
Right.
It's like, no.
Jared, I'm so glad you said that. It's what we were all thinking, but we were afraid to say it. You're so brave.
Dude, mixing is, I've been doing it for a long time and not well, but I feel like lately I've been getting better at it. And there's just so much that goes into it, man. It's like, I have producer friends that I talk to or just watch produce, and they use like 1,000 plugins. And I'm like, I have 7.
Well, there's other people that just use stock plugins.
Yeah.
My business partner, Joel Wanasek, he uses like the Cubase stock EQ all the time. He's probably the best person I've ever met at EQ. That's all he uses.
Yeah. I mean, some of the stock stuff, I'm a Logic guy. Some of the stock stuff they have in Logic is pretty sick. So some of the delays, and they got some pretty decent stuff. But
it's the same as gear. It's like, yeah, are some plugins a little bit better than others? Sure, but it's not gonna make your mixes better.
Exactly. You need the basics to be strong.
Yeah. I mean, I've played plenty of like other people's fancy guitars that are in cool bands. And guess what? It didn't sound like them. It sounded like me.
Yep. I think out of all the guitars that I've had, I think I have like 20 now. I gave away like 40 of them. I used to have like 60. It was ridiculous. But Jesus. I gave away a bunch. And I think out of all the guitars I've played in my life, there's been like 3 that have actually really impressed me tonally and like what you can get out of it. One of them's an Abasi, which is insane. And then I have a couple Majesties, but this one specific Majesty, it just has something special that it's just so good. But 90% of guitars, I would say, if you're paying at least $500, the $500 to $1,200 range is like, is there a difference? I don't know.
Maybe kind of, sort of, but
maybe a little bit. I think the difference is like in the options. So it's like you can go from like 80s hair metal shred to Polyphia cleans. If you can do that on one guitar, that's worth, I think, more money. Which I think a lot of newer models are kind of trying to do, because just the scope of guitars growing in so many tonal directions. Well, we want to hit the shred guys, we want to hit the rhythm players, but we want to hit the Polyphia fans, and we want to hit so it's like it's tough.
I just want one sound. All guitars I've ever had, I either remove or disable everything but the bridge pickup, because all I want is for it to go jun jun.
Jun jun, yeah.
That is the only sound. I want it to sound like early Suffocation, where it sounds like there's a wet blanket over the cab. That's the only sound I want. No mid, nothing, like zero signal from like 500 to 700 hertz, nothing.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Shrieking, grungy, dirty tone. I mean, that has its place. It definitely has its place. There's some good albums with some tones like that for sure. The grunge era, Alice in Chains and Stone Garden, and
I'm talking more like more of like a Vulgar Display of Power kind of sound.
Gotcha. So no mids whatsoever.
Zero.
Entirely
Zero
scooped.
Yeah.
I've never envied what's his name? Dimebag's tone. I've definitely envied his playing, because it's one of those things like when as a kid, when I would hear those songs, it's like, these are cool. And then the more you listen to music, you're like, why does it sound like that? Like, that's kind of, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of,
but it works for them.
It totally works for them.
And it's not horrible for anybody else, but it works for them.
Yeah, man. It's in the fingers. It really is.
It really is. I didn't want that to be true.
Yeah.
Because like that made me realize the problem was me.
Yeah.
But I've just tried so many times. I've had friends like, come record a little demo or something with my guitar on, my computer, and it sounded 10 times better than anything I've ever done with it.
Oh no.
And the strings aren't even new, and I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, what am I doing? Have you been playing long?
Since like 1991.
Okay. Gotcha.
I very rarely play anymore.
Gotcha.
So I mean that, whatever. I basically retired, but yeah. I started playing at the very end of like the shred guitar era, back when like George Lynch and stuff was still on the cover of magazines.
Sure.
And then Nirvana came out and nobody cared about any of that anymore.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Nirvana changed the game 100%. So did you have like a band that you played in back in the day?
Yeah, I had like kind of crappy like punk bands and stuff in high school.
Sure.
Which was fun, but I mean nothing ever serious or anything like that.
Yeah. Nothing you could see yourself doing for years and years.
No, I never wanted to be like in a real band or anything like that, just because there were other things I wanted to do with my life.
Sure.
And just, being in a band is like, it's a thing, and it's just never a priority for me. And I also don't like playing music. I like recording and making music, but I don't enjoy playing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. It's a
I want to
different
make
thing.
a song, but I don't care about playing. Yeah, it's two different things. And most people, I think, are probably the opposite. But that's why I'm weird.
I could see it both ways. I enjoy playing, but there's a lot of times where I just enjoy sitting there and putting the puzzle pieces together of a song.
Yeah, exactly.
Where everyone else plays, I used to do that all the time. So it's definitely a different thing. But
it was very, very, very eye-opening for me when I started recording myself. And I was like, wow, I'm not nearly as good at guitar as I thought I
was. Yeah. You'll have like the engineer you're recording with goes in after you leave and retracts the guitar parts a little tighter.
Totally, which happens to plenty of that happens to a lot of bands and they don't even know it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I've heard stories for sure.
Yeah, I remember there was one album that was produced by some people I know, and I heard it and I was like, holy shit, the guitars on that sound amazing.
Yeah.
And he just replied like, blank played them. And I was like, oh, okay.
It's like, wow, you got him to do that? That's crazy.
Exactly.
It's like, no, we didn't. We gave up. Oh, man. Yeah, I've had some moments like that. I mean, whatever, man. Like, if it, obviously they might be a little upset, but there's been times where I've just said like, hey, I could do this cleaner for the sake of the song. Are you okay with that? And a lot of people are just like, yeah, I don't give a shit. Yeah, I
mean, it just is what it is. Or another one, there's a fairly well-known band that came out with a new album that sounded like much different and worse than their old ones. And a friend of mine produced it, and I was like, why does it sound like this? And he's like, so-and-so insisted on playing their own parts.
Oh, no.
Like,
so you're actually hearing what the band sounds like now.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't like this. I like the other producer better. Damn,
yeah.
That hurts. Yeah.
Well, speaking of guitar, I thought one of the coolest things that I've seen kind of from our world is when you were on the cover of Guitar World a couple years ago. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you were the first YouTuber to be on the cover of a guitar magazine.
Correct.
I believe.
Correct.
Which was a really cool milestone. How did that actually happen, and why are you holding an acoustic guitar on the cover?
So that I for sure was the first YouTuber on Guitar World. I don't know if it was every guitar magazine, but for sure Guitar World. That happened. I pretty much got a message from my manager one day that said, hey, Martin Acoustics and Guitar World want to do a combined piece with you. Okay. I don't know why. I've never really ever played an acoustic, but they wanted, so I was like, okay, sure. We'll do it. So we flew down to Nazareth, Pennsylvania. And that's where I believe the Martin headquarters is. So we went there, and then the photo shoot was actually done at the Martin headquarters. So it was
That's why Taylor Swift plays Martin's, because she's from Pennsylvania.
Oh, is that true?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
I think so. I mean, she is from Pennsylvania.
Oh.
But anyway.
I didn't know that. But yeah, so it was like a joint thing. And so we went to the Martin factory, did the photo shoot there with the Martin guitar. And then Guitar World was like, all right, cool, we'll throw it on the cover. And that was basically it. I really didn't pursue that at all. It was just something that, my manager texted me one day and said, hey, there's this opportunity, you want to do it? And I was like, the cover Guitar World? Yeah, for sure. That'd be pretty cool. I definitely want to do that. So yeah, that was fun. That was something that I was very excited for, that I feel like when I announced it, people weren't very excited about it. It was weird because I was doing that was the period.
Surprises me.
Yeah, it was a little weird. I was a period of time where I was doing a video every day or video every other day, and I remember I had a specific view count, and then I posted that video of oh, I'm on the cover, whatever, here it is, check it out, blah blah, this is blah blah. And it got a third of the views of everything else. And it just seemed like it was so overlooked. And I was like, oh, well, I guess it's, maybe people don't care about magazines as much, the younger generation than I would, growing up.
But it's still pretty cool.
It was cool for me because it's I grew up, reading Guitar World, and you'd get the little DVDs of the
Hmm.
instructional, guitar stuff. I'd watch those all the time. And so I spent years doing that. Never once thought I would be in a place to actually be on one. So, I mean, I'm just very grateful for that. It was very, very cool experience for sure.
It's interesting how like people who kind of come up in the old media, like print and TV and stuff like that, they all struggle to like be relevant on the internet. And then people who come up on the internet, they all want to be relevant they're like, I'm on TV. Right. And they're like, right. Yeah, but 50,000 people saw that. You get 50,000 views in a day on YouTube. Yeah, but it's TV.
Yeah. Yeah. It's more official, right?
It's not at all. But
right. Oh, like yeah, totally. For sure. It's just like, well, that kind of happened with me with my dad, where it was like, oh, blah, blah. And then, like YouTube views, like, oh, you got like millions of views. Like, oh, that's cool. Whatever. Like, he just doesn't quite understand it. But then there's things where it's like, you're on the
local news or something.
Yeah. Or like I had an interaction on Instagram with the ZZ Top guy. I cannot remember his name.
Billy Gibbons or the other guy?
Yes, Billy Gibbons. And where he played that monstrosity guitar.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That had like the J on it or whatever. Right. And I was like, hey, that's kind of like that's the guitar that the dude made for me or whatever. I think I had like my face on it or something somewhere. And at least at one point. But definitely had a J on it. And so I made a comment about that. And so then I had this conversation with him, and he's really nice. And I was like, oh, it's funny that you're doing that. It's really cool. And so then I told my dad, I was like, yeah, I talked to the ZZ Top guy. He's like, what? You talked to the Z? That's great. That's so cool. Oh, that's so crazy. So we're like being on the cover of a magazine where he's like, oh, wow, I guess you're actually like official now, huh? Where nothing else mattered.
Like, yeah, I had 500 million views before this happened, but
yeah,
okay.
Like nothing else mattered. It was like, oh, you're on the cover of a magazine. That's my son. Right. Like it's just funny. But yeah, I think you always want what you don't have, as far as like if you grow up on internet, you want to be in the real world, so you feel more like official. And if you're more official, you're more like, oh, like this is just, we'll just do this and this is fine. Like you don't care so much, or maybe you do. I don't know.
Well, I mean, those people are making these like desperate TikToks trying to like grow a following there, and it's like, because they're like, well, nobody watches TV anymore. I gotta be big on TikTok.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's what you said. It's just people want what they don't have.
Well, everyone wants attention, that's like a basic human thing. So it's just like how people go about it,
I sure wanted a lot less than I did when I started doing YouTube, because now I'm kind of just like, I'm grateful for it, but at the same time, like,
oh yeah. Well, going back to talking about how I would feel potentially kind of anxious or nervous, or like, oh, I can't do all this stuff or whatever because people's opinions of me. You do this shit for 10 years, you don't give a fuck. Like at this point, it's like I don't even look at anything anymore. It's
There's
like
literally nothing you could say about either of us that hasn't been said before. So it's like,
for real, 100%. I've been called every name in the book. I've heard every comment. So it's like you just get to a point where like, well, I just don't care and just gonna do this. But yeah, definitely when it's a lot of unwarranted attention, I think it's
like you have one of those days where you say something people don't like.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, I think I'm just not going to look at the internet for the next 48 hours because
I feel like you do that on purpose though.
No, I don't.
I feel like you try to rile people up.
I make jokes. I really don't. I mean, I make a joke for sure.
I feel like you're a little bit of a shit stirrer.
I'm really not. Like, well, I say things that to me seem like silly.
Yeah.
Like to me, it's like a silly joke. Like if I'm like, oh, Jared, you smell bad.
Yeah.
And then you get in my face and you want to beat me up. I'm like, okay.
I was just kidding.
Yeah. I didn't think you were going to want to fight me over that, but okay. Yeah. It's more like that. Like, I mean, I make jokes, but like, people just, I mean, if you just say you don't like Deftones.
Right.
And it's like, dude, you're acting like I threatened your family.
Well, to some, that's the thing about music, man. Some people will have these bands that are like, they saved my fucking life, dude. Like, how dare you say that? Instead of being like,
And it's because I made fun of Chino's shoes in a video from 2003.
yeah,
You
I
know,
think, right. Yeah. And then you're gonna get people just commenting like, well, let's see your shoe collection, mister. You got
right.
much better. It's always like, well, what makes you the authority to tell
Nothing.
someone that, right, exactly, which
Nothing.
is
I'm just a
obviously
fucking guy with an opinion, which you are totally free to ignore.
right.
Who am
Yeah.
I to say? I am fucking nobody. My opinion is not important. And I'm
Oh
grateful
yeah. I
that people
mean,
think it is, but like, I don't think it is.
well, you're a smart guy. I think a lot of people are really into what you do because you genuinely have a lot of knowledge about the music scene and multiple music scenes. So when you make a video, people like even if they disagree, they know what you're saying is coming from an educated place. And I think a lot of people really respect that. And they'll have like, oh, like I say like when anything like Avenged Sevenfold drops a new record, everyone's, is it good? Is it bad? Is it good? Is it bad? Then
Yeah.
you come on and you say your opinion. Everyone trusts you, at least to an extent. And so they're like, oh, I see what he's saying. Because you're pretty unbiased. You don't, just attack
I
people
try to be. I mean, we all have our own biases, but I try
for
to be
sure.
objective.
And I think a lot of people see that. And then of course you're gonna have people who just come in from the outside, have no idea who you are, and that you're talking shit about something I love. Like,
Right. Well, I don't even think that I know that much about music, because any video that I make, no matter how much I research, there's going to be a bunch of people that point out something I said that's wrong, or sort of like people will drop some fact in the comments. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know that.
well, that's the curse. That's the curse of being a smart guy. Everyone wants to one up you because they're like,
Yeah, which is like, I'm
he's
not
so
mad about that.
smart. He's so smart.
Yeah,
I found this out about him. Who's smart now?
Well, I mean, there's some of that, but there is some people that like just legitimately, like, I don't know. I don't know everything, and I don't claim to or anything like that. And like, right. I don't even, there's a lot of people that know more than I do. I'm just a person with an opinion, and I'm grateful that people care. But there are those days where, like, I mean, there's been tons of, like, sometimes I say things and it's like, okay, I know some people are going to be upset about this. And if they get upset, well, I can't complain because I knew this was like going to be potentially irritating to people. But then there's other times where it's like, I had no idea that this thing that I said was going to upset people, and they're just raging at me for it, for like 2 days on Twitter. And I'm just like,
because you might,
we're not looking at Twitter for a while.
Twitter, yeah, because you might think the opposite opinion is ridiculous. And so then in your mind, you're like, I'm saying this thing. Of course, everyone agrees. But then there's
it's not. I might just offhandedly say something like, just be like, well, nobody really liked this album, as I recall. So blah, 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 just something innocuous like that. And then someone will start a Reddit thread about what a horrible person I am or something. Just like,
he doesn't like my favorite album.
I mean, I've never looked for your name on Reddit, but I'm sure there's plenty of those threads about you.
I stay off of that site. I don't go anywhere near.
I do. I read Reddit a lot, but I only read about like investing and stuff like that. I don't follow like any music related like Reddits specifically for that reason, because I used to, and then I'd just be like scrolling in bed or something, and I'd see my own name come up.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, okay, now
my whole night's ruined.
Yeah,
I had to sit here and read this for half an hour.
I don't read that shit. Like, people send it to me, but I don't read it because it's like, what's the point? Like,
yeah, oh for sure.
If you don't like me, that's fine, but I don't need to like spend my time reading it.
Yeah, that stuff doesn't bother me. Like anonymous people I don't know, if they want to say whatever they want to say. I've gotten to a point now where that doesn't bother me. The only thing that what I would say would still bother me is when it's people I either know or work with, or other people in the guitar world or metal world, YouTube content creator world. If they're out of pocket coming at me about something, that's where I felt
terrible once. So I want to be careful because I don't want to accidentally identify this person, but I like sort of made some critical comments about 3 albums. Mm-hmm. And it turned out a person that I know produced all 3 of them.
Oh no.
And I had no idea.
Yeah.
And he thought, I totally understand why he thought I was talking shit about him specifically.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this for like a year. And I was like, he seems like he's like mad. And he's like, well, I just don't know why you had to like say that about those 3 albums that I worked on. And I was like, oh, fuck. I feel terrible because he's like the best guy. And I would never have deliberately done that.
But you were just being honest. You're just being honest.
Yeah, but I totally understand why he thought that I was trying to call him out. Because, I mean, I would think the same thing if I was in his shoes. But, like, that's the kind of thing that really makes me feel bad. If it's just, like, random fans that are mad at me because I don't like their favorite band, whatever. But stuff like that, like you said, if it's people that I know or friends of friends or something where I say something that, like, legitimately, like, hurts their feelings or offends them, like, that bums me out.
Yeah, for sure.
But I hope that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, right, totally. I don't know. It's just like that. Even if it's not a friend, if it's like just someone in the industry who just like is like super out of pocket for no reason, that I would ignore if it was a normal, just a regular person. But because it's somebody that's like high up in the scene, I'm like, okay, what you just said is completely ridiculous. Like why, because that stuff still kind of gets to me, but yeah, the other stuff is just not that big of a deal. Are you at like a good place where you feel that like you're making content and you have like a nice workflow and you're happy with like everything you're doing, or are you also kind of building up to something like in the next year or 3 years? Like, do you see yourself kind of doing the same type of stuff, or are you projecting this, kind of goal vision on your own content?
I've always had a whole, like, I never set out to like be a YouTuber or anything like that. I just sort of, I guess I feel like I just got lucky and it turned out that, whatever, people cared what I had to say about music. But I've always had a whole career that has nothing to do with any of this. Like I've done like product design and marketing for 20 plus years. Like that's what I think of myself as that, So I've always just assumed that one day I'm going to wake up and people don't give a shit about me on YouTube anymore. And then I'll be like, well, all right, that's that.
That was fun. It's a fun chapter.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Not to say that I'm very grateful for everyone's support and all that, but I just like, it's just so hard to stay relevant for a long time, which is why I've respected so much that there's people like you and Ola that have been doing it for like 10 years that are still relevant. I'm on like 5 or 6 years now, and I feel like that is even a long time. So I just assume that the bottom is going to fall out like literally any day.
Sure. I mean, that's just the uncertainty of life for any job. You know what I mean?
Totally.
You never know.
You wake up, you got laid off today.
Yeah. My parents always told me, oh, you need to get a real job. You need to get a real job. And then it's like the job I got was like not a real job, but during like where every other job closed down in the world, I was able to still, do what I do.
2020 was like an amazing year for YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. You never know, like the way the world is going to shift and change of, what works and what jobs last and which ones don't, so yeah, anyway,
at least we have some control over our fate,
Yeah. Right. I think for me, it's like I just, I love doing this still. And it's like specific elements of this job, I definitely still love doing more so than if I were to say go work construction again or go work whatever. So I definitely want to try and maintain it. Because I genuinely do. It's been the best years of my life for sure, is just being able to meet all these people and do all this cool stuff. So it's like, maybe in 3 or 4 years I'll be completely irrelevant, no one cares, my videos suck, and then we'll assess that situation. But it's like, if this is what I've been doing for the last 10, 15 years, I'm going to keep doing it. Got to do it, just got to make it happen. But yeah, I think
right on.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I think that like it's also okay to not have like a progressing goal all the time. Like you're just kind of like, well, I'm enjoying what I'm doing now, so I'm going to do that. And then, if it falls, like you said, if it falls, out from underneath you, you can sort of assess that when that time comes. But yeah, the uncertainty of life.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, and you can do all the planning that you want, but life's going to come along and kick you in the balls either way.
Even if you don't got them, still going to find them. You're going to kick them.
That's right.
You're going to feel it one way or another.
Well, I got to go, but I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for doing this, and hopefully we'll get to hang out again soon.
Of course, let's do it. We got to have you on the DINES podcast.
Name the time, and I'm there.
All right. Sounds good, man. Okay. It's nice talking to you.
You too. Take care.